Part 64. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 636. Near Small Lake. Sutingya got out of the tent, and as soon as he let out a sigh of relief, big dust floated over. Master! Master! There's someone over there, Dewey pointed in one direction. Sutingya tilted his head. Human. Yes, yes, she is a woman. Just when Sutingya turned around to look for Chin-Chi, the latter had already come out. Pack your things first, Chin-Chi said. It's still not sure whether this person is a player or an NPC. The former is fine. If it's the latter, it's not clear how to explain the tents and other items that suddenly appeared. Okay, Sutingya nodded. Dewey, you go hide first. Yes, master. Dewey and Xiaoqinhua immediately ran away and hid. Sutingya put the tent and other items into the inventory, but there were still some traces of life on the ground. At this time, Sutingya also felt someone approaching. You are. A slightly trembling female voice sounded, and a thin figure appeared and walked out of the woods. She is a rather beautiful woman, probably about the same age as Sutingya. Are you a tribute? Sutingya asked tentatively, walking slowly closer to the woman, trying to get within 2 meters of the woman to find out whether this person was a player. However, when she noticed Sutingya's approach, the woman took several steps back with a look of caution on her face. You, don't come over. Sutingya was forced to stop. Ahem, little sister, I don't mean any harm. I just finally saw someone and got excited for a moment. As he said this, Sutingya took a few steps back in order to reassure the woman. Although he could not check whether the woman was a player, Sutingya roughly judged that the woman was probably not a player. Because of players' habits, when they encounter a living person, they will immediately want to check whether the other person is a player. If the woman was a player, she would also look for opportunities to get close to Sutingya. You are also tributes. Seeing that Sutingya was acting more friendly, the woman gradually relaxed a little. Sutingya nodded. Ah, yes. Why haven't I seen you guys? Upon hearing Sutingya's answer, the woman frowned and looked at the two of them with a hint of suspicion in her eyes. Little sister, we are also very innocent. We were somehow faked by your people and thrown into it. Sutingya recalled the plot of the initial encounter and immediately retorted with an innocent face. This is a living NPC tribute, and it's all alone. Sutingya made up his mind to learn more about the dungeon world from the woman, which would also help them clear the dungeon. Before coming in, the woman did hear that the missing group of people had been replaced, but she didn't expect that she would meet them now. Little sister, do you still want to go out? Sutingya began to test the woman's wishes. Before entering the maze, some of the NPCs Sutingya had seen seemed to come in voluntarily, and some seemed to be numb and accepting. I don't know what type this woman is. You guys want to go out? The woman seemed to sense the implication of Sutingya's words and asked. Sutingya nodded decisively. Yes, we were thrown in for no reason. We must find a way out. Anyway, according to the opening plot, these players came in involuntarily, so this answer is not too abrupt. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 637. After several exchanges, the woman initially lowered her guard. The woman's name is Chi Swexuan. She was born in a family that favors sons over daughters. She is the third in the family, with 6 brothers and sisters. She is in the middle position and is a girl, so the elders in the family ignore her very much. This time, the Chi family was selected to provide a tribute, and Chi Swexuan, who had an embarrassing position in the family, was pushed out. Sutingya seemed to be infected, and her sense of justice was overwhelming. Without saying a word, she took Chi Swexuan's hand, with a sincere and firm expression on her face. Little sister, be strong, let's escape together. Okay, Yu Chi Swexuan was a little uncomfortable with someone being so enthusiastic towards her, but he could also feel that Sutingyu meant no harm to her. Chi Swexuan's eyes fell on Qin Chi. This is your brother, right? Qin Chi. Sutingyu nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, my brother, his name is Suchi. Sutingyu just made up a fake name for herself, Suyu. Since they are pretending to be siblings, their last names must be the same. Qin Chi. From beginning to end, Qin Chi could not say a word and just watched Sutingyu's performance quietly. By the way, where are you from? Hearing this, Sutingyu was shocked. Coming. When I asked about Chi Swexuan's situation, I thought that the other party would ask back, but I still didn't know anything about this world. Miss, are you afraid that you will laugh at us? We were actually. Traffic. Sutingyu blinked her big eyes. In less than 2 seconds, her eyes were filled with water, and her expression instantly turned pitiful. Huh? Kidnapping. Woo-oh. Sutingyu wiped the corners of her eyes, pursed her lips, and opened her mouth to make up a touching and tear-jerking sad story about how when they were a few years old, a sister and brother went out to play, but were unfortunately abducted by bad guys. So that's it, it's okay, it's all over. Chi Swexuan was stunned for a while, then he closed his slightly opened mouth and his expression became sympathetic. Miss, can you tell us what is going on in this maze now, or now? Taking this opportunity, Sutingyu asked many things intentionally or unintentionally. From Chi Swexuan's words, Sutingyu learned that the place where they lived was called Panling Continent. On the continent, there is a kind of spiritual energy all the time. Everything in the world is inseparable from spiritual energy. Through the cultivation of spiritual energy, humans can become saints and even have a chance to walk on the road to godhood. But since ancient times, after the war between gods and demons, the continent's spiritual energy has gradually dried up, the human race's physique has slowly become mediocre, and it has become increasingly difficult to become a cultivator. Sutingyu blinked her big eyes. Sister, then, I want to become a cultivator, what should I do? What conditions are required? Ah, I'm just an ordinary person. I haven't been exposed to these things, so I don't know very well. Hearing this, Chi Swexuan looked troubled. At this time, Qin Chi quietly pulled the corner of Sutingyu's clothes. The latter came back to his senses and said quickly, "Oh, little sister, how much do you know about this maze?" "Well, what about cultivators? Let's study it when we have time after we get out of the maze." "Well, I've heard several cultivators say, in fact, these labyrinths are probably the demon seeds left behind by the ancient demons before they were annihilated, and the labyrinth is like a hotbed to accumulate strength and hatch the demon seeds, but the progress of accumulating strength a little bit is too slow, so they confuse and threaten those ignorant mortals to gain more power. Now, everything we see is a confusion. It is actually a huge illusion, and this huge illusion is led by the nightmare god. During this period, the small illusion we enter is derived from the memory of the person who entered it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 638. Hotel, Room 206. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, the door of the room was knocked roughly from outside. Shan Yu blinked her beautiful eyes, told Yaya to hide, and then walked straight to the door. Shan Yu first used the small hole on the door to observe the outside. It was the King Jiji in room 204. Yo! Is this person awake? Seeing his anxious look with a hint of panic, Shan Yu didn't even have to think about it. He must have discovered that one of his two companions was dead and the other was missing. He thought of himself, the living person who had just agreed to cooperate last night. Or, it's also to confirm Shan Yu's life and death. This handsome guy knocked on the door so early in the morning. What's the matter? Shan Yu opened the door and pretended to have just woken up. GGE's words were a bit sinister. Did you hear anything last night? Did you see the other two people? What's the movement? Was there any movement last night? Shan Yu asked, pretending to be dumbfounded. Seeing Shan Yu's expression of longing and not pretending, GGE gave up and continued to test. Yao Yao is gone, and the other man is dead. The cause of Brother N's death was that his heart was injured by a sharp object. There were no signs of struggle on his body. He was probably killed in his sleep. Therefore, when GGE came to see Shan Yu, he actually suspected that he was in love with Shan Yu. After all, no matter how you look at it, Shan Yu has no motive for committing the crime, and there is no evidence now. GGE can only suppress the suspicion in his heart. What? Dead? Shan Yu made a very surprised expression at the right time, stretched out his hand and lightly covered his lips. How could? Overnight, one of his two companions died and the other disappeared, and Yao Yao was also related to his guardianship mission. GGE could not keep absolutely calm in a short period of time. If you are dead, you are dead. The body is still in the room. Is it possible that I can still lie to others? Oh. Shan Yu was scared on the face, but in her heart she was dismissive. This GGE was just lucky last night. First, Gucci and Shan Yu chose his room and indirectly helped him deal with the nightmare demon. Second, the Yao Yao female player did not choose to kill him first. Last night, Shan Yu also noticed a detail, that is, after the Yao Yao female player went out, she hesitated at the doors of rooms 202 and 204. Obviously, if her target of killing was only the player in room 202, she would not have to hesitate at that time. Therefore, the targets of the Yao Yao female player's killing should be these two male players. As for why, maybe she saw them both at the same time and was judged to have to kill them all in order to get the reward. Sorry, if your friend had enough game coins, he wouldn't really die. Shan Yu comforted GGE. GGE, sorry, I'm not familiar with them. GGE feels sorry for the reward of the guardianship mission. Now that Yao Yao is gone, isn't it his failure? Just when GGE was still regretting that the mission had failed, his panel suddenly popped up. Just when GGE's eyes were on his own panel, Shan Yu had a doubt in his heart. Did he refresh the main plot? But it's just a few words, so don't stare at it for so long. But when GGE glanced at Shan Yu unexpectedly, the latter felt something was wrong and stepped back subconsciously. Well, I forgot to wash up, so I went back first. Don't go, beauty. GGE suddenly smiled at Shan Yu, his eyes firmly locked on the latter, as if he was afraid that she would run away. You just lost your life, aren't you afraid? But it's okay, I'm here in. As he spoke, he reached out his hand, trying to grab Shan Yu's slender wrist. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 639. Haha, no need. Shan Yu's eyes changed slightly, and he stepped back into the door, reaching out to close the door. But in the next second, GGE blocked the door that was about to close with quick eyes and hands. He gritted his teeth slightly, pushed the door open, and then strode into the door. In the room, Gucci glanced at Shan Yu, who was constantly retreating, then moved his eyes away and fell on GGE, who had just entered the door. GGE took a look at the situation in the room and saw that there was only one child. He immediately laughed out loud. Beauty, why are you running away? I won't eat you. As he said that, GGE's eyes were unconsciously on Shan Yu's body. Is free. This Chinese girl also has a good figure. The panel message GGE just received was the update of the guarding and killing missions. This time, he received the killing mission, and the first person he saw was Shan Yu. Therefore, Shan Yu has now become his target of killing. How about giving some hope first, playing for a while, and then killing people? This idea flashed through GGE's mind. Suddenly, the 5-year-old child sitting on the sofa spoke. Go out. Hey, GGE's face turned cold. Little brat, stop meddling in your own business. An NPC kid, at first glance, didn't seem to be a key NPC. He was probably just a background cannon fodder. GGE didn't take it to heart and continued to approach Shan Yu step by step. But GGE didn't notice that there was a petite figure behind him and on the wall above the door. At this time, Shan Yu was 80% sure that he could guess the reason for GGE's sudden change of attitude. Are you trying to kill me now? Haha, you are very smart. Beauty, be sensible and don't resist. I can give you a good time. GGE didn't care that Shan Yu could see his intentions. In his eyes, the latter was already within his grasp. He took out a trident weapon from the inventory and pointed it at Shan Yu. GGE is waiting for Shan Yu to beg for mercy, so that he can deliberately pretend to be soft-hearted and let her go, and then. To GGE's surprise, Shan Yu did not beg for mercy, but changed the subject. Aren't you very surprised why your 2 companions died? GGE frowned. What do you mean? Could it be that you killed them all? No, Shan Yu waved the index finger of his right hand gently. It was your female companion who killed your other companion. Do you know why she killed him? Think about the task you just got. What's the use of what you're saying now? Delaying time, although GGE was very surprised, since everyone died and he was not a true friend, it was impossible for him to care about the cause of NGE's death. Shan Yu pursed her lips and smiled. Is there really no room for negotiation? Didn't you say that we would cooperate last night? GGE sneered. Naive, this woman has no brains. Huge interests come first. Do you really think that the so-called cooperative relationship is strong? Hey. Shan Yu turned to look at Gucci and shrugged. No need to talk. Just when GGE was wondering about Shan Yu's behavior, thin straight transparent lines suddenly appeared around him. What's this? Before GGE could fully react, a thin transparent thread flashed on GGE's neck. In less than a second, a blood line appeared, and then a large amount of blood flowed out. When GGE felt the pain, he subconsciously wanted to cover his neck with his hands, but when he raised his left hand to his eyes, he was horrified to find that the entire palm was gone, leaving only the neatly cut and bloody wrist. Ah! Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 640. Shan Yu took 2 steps forward, but still kept a relatively safe distance. She put her hands behind her back and still had a slight smile on her face. Delaying time? I'm giving you a chance to regret it? It's a pity. You don't cherish it. Shan Yu calmly watched GGE finally fall to the ground and take his last breath, and stretched out his hand to Yaya on the wall. Yaya, throw the person back to his room. Yaya responded obediently. Okay, sister. She picked up the body and the broken palm and floated out the door. Thank you. Shan Yu turned to thank Gucci, who was retracting the thread. Gucci glanced at her and said nothing. Fortunately, I am your guardian, otherwise, tisk tisk. Shan Yu went to the small bathroom, took out the mop, and casually wiped the remaining blood stains on the floor. Sister, throw it away and I'll close the door after a while, Yaya floated back. Shan Yu raised his hand and touched Yaya's head. Yaya is awesome, go and play by yourself. After Shan Yu finished dealing with the blood stains, closed the door, and sat back on the bed, Gucci suddenly said. There's a problem with the mission. Huh? Shan Yu was stunned for half a second and didn't realize what Gucci had said. Gucci lowered his head and looked at his now smaller hands. The rewards for random tasks are too many, which is very unreasonable. Reward? You're talking about this? Shan Yu blinked his beautiful eyes, recalled the rewards of the killing mission, and nodded. It seems, the previous missions, in terms of game currency alone, usually cost hundreds or thousands. Tens of thousands are rare, let alone 500,000. It feels like setting up a mission that is hard to refuse. Shan Yu pursed his red lips and his eyes flashed slightly. Gucci, is the reward for the Guardian mission. You received a gold medal, career and game currency 500,000, experience value 100,000, free attribute points add 100, random props *10. Gu nodded, yeah. It's strange. The rewards for both guarding and killing missions are the same. Our mission targets are each other, and the same is true for the 3 players. What is the system diagram on this panel? Do you want to see us fight? Kill each other? Shan Yuqing tilted his head. Moreover, that Yao Yao female player has obviously completed the killing mission, but the next moment. But was swallowed by an unknown monster. The mission may be fake. After thinking about it, this is the only possibility. It is impossible for the dungeon to make moves that break the game's balance mechanism. This mission is probably fake. From the beginning, the maze can easily capture the most vulnerable point in everyone's heart, so it does not seem to be difficult to fake the panel system to issue tasks and confuse the players. Moreover, this is a 9-star professional copy. Based on the experience of past professional dungeons, in this type of dungeon, the panel system will minimize the sense of presence. Except for the necessary mainline progress refresh, it will not be so jumping like this round of dungeons. False. Is it because of the maze? If that's the case, did the female player step on a thunderstorm? Shan Yu had little experience in gaming, so he didn't think about it at first, but Gucci said it bluntly, and naturally, 2 can continue to infer. Gucci raised his head and stared directly at the ceiling above his head, his eyes cold. We are inseparable. He began to wonder whether his every move in the hotel where he was staying was being monitored by unknown things. This feeling made him very unhappy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 641. After receiving Gucci's exact answer, Shan Yu looked slightly disappointed, so, 7 or 3 points is completely out of the question. Gucci, why is she still thinking about it? Hey, if the mission is fake, then it can explain why Yao Yao killed the target but failed to pass the level. Gu nodded. If it is a real copy mission, except for the possibility of stumbling, under normal circumstances, there is no chance of an accident. Shan Yu blinked her beautiful eyes. That's okay. Tisk tisk, if she killed Gucci when she saw him, then she would be in trouble. As for the end, she might be similar to that female player. Gucci jumped down from the sofa. When Shan Yu saw this, he asked, "What's wrong?" "Go out and find the hotel owner," Gucci replied. Hearing this, Shan Yu's expression suddenly dawned. Oh, but this hotel owner is a normal NPC, right? But now in the maze, except for the group of tribute NPCs who came in, the rest of the people they saw were just fantasy characters. They were still the kind of fantasy NPCs that jumped up when they disagreed and turned into monsters to scare people. Go and test it out, you'll know. I didn't pay much attention to the hotel owner last night, but now that the night has passed, even if there is some commotion on the 2nd floor, the hotel owner is nowhere to be seen. The existence of the hotel owner is worthy of scrutiny. Is this a new trap set by the maze? Or an irrelevant background NPC? Shan Yu, that's okay. The current situation, although there are some small gains, feels a bit deadlocked, and it is urgent to find a breakthrough. The 2 of them were not in a hurry to find the hotel owner. Instead, they had breakfast first to replenish their strength before going downstairs to find someone. At the same time, beside the small lake, Su Tingyu opened her big round eyes and listened to Qi Xuexuan's story. Little sister, you know a lot. Qi Xuexuan raised his hand slightly, pulled back the hair on the side of his face, and smiled shyly. I heard it all from those cultivators. Oh, Sotinyu was noncommittal, blinking her big eyes and supporting her chin with one hand. Miss, I'm a little curious. Huh? What are you curious about? Chi Swexuan asked doubtfully. It's just that cultivators are very powerful, aren't they? How could an ordinary person like you, miss, hear so much important information casually? In other words, what is your relationship with cultivators, miss? Sotinyu's tone was innocent and somewhat innocent, as if he was asking about the weather conditions. As soon as the words fell, the atmosphere of the scene fell into stagnation. You, just say this. Suddenly, Chi Swexuan's lowered eyebrows suddenly became sharp, and a small dagger appeared in the palm of his right hand, about to stab Sotinyu's neck. But Chi Swexuan didn't expect that someone would be one step faster than her. Don't move, came a slightly cold voice. Behind Chi Swexuan, at some point, Qin Chi was already holding an ancient bronze sword in his hand, with the tip of the sword pointing directly at the former's back. If Chi Swexuan made any move, this sword would pierce her heart without mercy. You lied to me. You are not just a lost sibling. At this point, Chi Swexuan knew that he had been deceived, and his chest heaved violently with anger. Sotinyu had an innocent look on her face and spread her hands. Miss, you were the one who lied to me in the first place. You can't beat someone's back. Chi Swexuan, shameless, I have learned so much. Is this how to use a rake? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 642. What do you want to do? The Nightmare's lackeys. Chi Swexuan felt the fatal threat from behind. Although she still had other means left, she did not dare to act rashly now and could only vent her anger by swearing. But being scolded for no reason, Sotinyu expressed that he was confused and aggrieved. She, how did she become a lackey? Why doesn't she know how to do it herself? Miss, have you misunderstood something? Sotinyu tried to explain clearly. Don't get excited, I don't mean any harm, I'm a good person, I'm just curious to ask you. This young lady's mentality is not very stable. She will draw a dagger whenever she disagrees. Chi Swexuan looked indifferent. No offense. Then what is the sword behind her? Branch. Little sister, please calm down. Didn't you do it first? I obviously didn't do anything and didn't ask any questions. Right. Originally, Chi Swexuan was still full of anger, but inexplicably, she gradually felt that Sotinyu said there was nothing wrong with her. What the hell? Ahem, little sister, I believe you are not an ordinary person who is oppressed by a patriarchal family, right? You know the maze so well, do you have a purpose in coming here? After seeing Chi Swexuan calm down a lot, Sotinyu said that's when I asked the real question. When they first came into contact, Sotinyu realized that Chi Swexuan might not be as harmless and ordinary as he appeared on the surface. Because, what ordinary person can know so much? It feels like a lot of it involves some of the secrets of the maze. No, to change the way of thinking and saying it, it should be, who can know so much, who would be an ordinary person. Originally, when Sotinyu noticed something strange about Chi Swexuan, he could have chosen to establish a good relationship first and then pursue it slowly, which would have been safer. But Qin Chi's current situation is unknown. He has now turned into a 12-year-old child. If he continues to shrink next time or other problems arise, it will be difficult to deal with. Therefore, Sotinyu did not intend to continue to take detours and directly show his cards. As for whether Chi Swexuan would cooperate obediently, well, this was completely outside of Sotinyu's consideration. The little fairy is loved by everyone, how could anyone not be willing to help her? And what kind of nightmare god, nightmare lackeys, we really are not. We don't even know the nightmare god. Sutingyu realized that Chi Suexuan seemed to have a lot of objections to the nightmare god, and Sutingyu quickly dismissed it. Clear relationship. Chi Suexuan frowned. Are you really not the lackeys of the nightmare? Yes, yes, if you don't believe me, look at my brother, Ba, he is my friend. He is about the same age as me, but because he entered the illusion, he turned into a 12-year-old child when he came out. So hearing the indignation on the fish's face, he clenched his little paws. What about that nightmare god? He bullied my friend, and I still want to settle the score with him. You. Chi Suexuan was a little doubtful. However, before she came in, she did learn that people who enter the illusion will have physical abnormalities if they are targeted by the nightmare demon. Is it possible, these two people really have nothing to do with the nightmare? Did she misunderstand? If you want to know anything, let me make some arrangements first. After all, we are in a maze now. If you just say it frankly. Hearing this, Sutingyu and Qin-Chi looked at each other. When the former nodded slightly, Qin-Chi withdrew the ancient bronze sword and took 2 steps back, but his eyes were still fixed on Chi Suexuan. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 643. Sutingyu smiled with a smile on his face. Okay, little sister, you can do it. I saw Chi Suexuan take out a crystal clear purple bead from the small pouch on his waist. He opened the heart of his left hand and formed several spiritual seals on the fingers of his right hand. The purple bead flashed and automatically lifted into the air, floating above the 3 people. Top of head. The purple light emitted by the purple beads was hemispherical, covering the area where the 3 people were. Chi Suexuan, okay, now that we have temporarily cut off the connection with the maze, what do you want to ask? Sutingyu blinked her big eyes and asked quickly, Miss, you are actually a cultivator, right? Then why did you come in? And how are we going to get out? Yes, Chi Suexuan admitted his identity. Mortals are ignorant and only throw innocent compatriots into the demon's mouth to pray for a moment of stability. I came to the labyrinth here to destroy the demon species under the orders of my master. There are 4 other disciples traveling with me, but I can't find them now. Later, Chi Suexuan told many things about the demon species. Although the spiritual energy in Panling continent is much less now than in ancient times, there are still many people who have become cultivators. Some treasures and ancient books handed down from ancient times are also guiding the path of practice for generations of new practitioners. After several years of evolution, various sects have been created, and people with potential and talent will go to practice in the sects. A few months ago, mysterious mazes appeared all over the continent. Ordinary people thought they were miracles, but the middle and upper class cultivators knew very well that those were the remaining demon species from ancient times. Once the demon species were awakened, the animist continent will fall into a terrible situation where demons are dancing around. But this time, the true God is not here, and it sounds like a fantasy to resist the erosion of demons with only the power of the human race. Therefore, all the sects have reached a unified agreement that the demon species must not be allowed to awaken, and that the demon species must be destroyed before it awakens to avoid future troubles. Little sister, since the consequences of the demon's awakening are so terrible, why don't you send more powerful cultivators in to suppress it? Sutingyu's eyes were pure and innocent. She didn't mean to look down on him, she was just curious. Chi Suexuan, are you polite? Why does this sound wrong? I feel like I'm being understood. I am in our sect, but I am one of the top 100 disciples in the inner section. Chi Suexuan felt that it was necessary to explain his greatness. Wow, that's amazing, Sutingyu, an enthusiastic audience member, immediately applauded. The next second, the conversation changed. Is it because we don't have enough manpower? Chi Suexuan, with this factor, the elders are responsible for entering the more dangerous maze and destroying the demon species. That's it? The panel system rated the difficulty of this round of dungeons as 9 stars. Although this was the most difficult dungeon that Sutinyu had ever encountered, there are still higher difficulties above 9 stars, so will other mazes reach 10 stars or above? What about the difficulty? No, my mission is only in the Nightmare Maze. How about other mazes? It seems to have nothing to do with me. After thinking about it, Sutinyu gave up the idea of going to other mazes to take a look. Qi Xuechuan turned his head and glanced, his eyes fell on the ancient bronze sword in Qin Qi's hand, and his eyes suddenly flashed. The material of this sword is quite unfamiliar. She seems to have never seen anything similar. Since you can pass through 2 levels of illusion, you must have a good character. Qi Xuechuan hesitated for a second, and then continued, I would like to ask you to go find the demon species with me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 644. Main mission, accept Qi Xuechuan's commission, to be refreshed. Huh? The main quest has been refreshed? What day is it this time? Sutinyu's eyes brightened slightly. This is an obvious reminder. Now, she could preliminarily confirm that Qi Xuechuan's identity and intentions were correct. Furthermore, she had found a way to clear the level, looking for the demon species. Sutinyu looked at Qin Qi, who also received the panel message. After the two sides looked at each other, Su heard Yu cough and said with a smile, what a duck, just what I wanted. Now that they had temporarily reached an alliance, Qi Xuechuan revealed some more secret and important information to Sutinyu and the other two. According to the speculation of the elders of our sect, people who enter the Nightmare Maze will experience 9 levels of illusion. During this period, if they are bewitched or synced in any level of illusion, they will become the slaves of the nightmare, and their souls will be affected by the nightmare. Control, there will be no recovery. Although the Nightmare Maze is very dangerous, if you can break the illusion here by yourself, each layer of illusion you break will have a great increase in mental power. So, if you want to find the location of nightmare, you must go through the 9 levels of illusion. After all are passed, your mental power will no longer be restricted and you can sense the specific location of nightmare. Sutinyu clapped her fingers, then we have passed through 2 levels of illusion now. Qi Xuechuan nodded, yes. Miss, besides passing through the illusions one by one, is there any faster way? Sutinyu did not forget that she was in a professional dungeon, and the proportion of time elapsed was unknown. It would be best if she could clear the levels faster. Hearing this, Qi Xuechuan pondered for a moment and said, if you have strong spiritual power, strong enough to see through the current maze, you can also sense the specific location of the nightmare. Psychic power? What is that? Sutinyu opened his big, confused eyes. Spiritual power, according to secular terms, can be called consciousness, thoughts, ideas, etc. Sometimes, people's thoughts come together and they want to accomplish something, but it is just a thought and there is no substance. Progress. And mental power is the ability to turn thoughts that should be nihilistic into a force that can directly affect reality. Sutinyu listened for a long time and finally understood the principle of mental power. It's just like magic, except that magic requires a magic wand and specific spells, while mental power needs to materialize thoughts and ideas to achieve the ability to affect reality. Little sister, how do you develop your mental power? Is there any way to know whether your mental power is enough to break through the confusion? Of course there is, Qi Xuechuan nodded, but don't think too much about it. None of you have developed your mental power. Even if you are just trying to make ends meet now, you won't be able to suddenly have the mental power to break through the barriers. That's not possible. Sutinyu pursed her lips. According to Qi Xuechuan's meaning, they have to go through the 9th level of illusion step by step? Little sister, please teach us how to develop it first. Even if we can't break through the confusion all at once, with some mental strength, we can pass through the 9-layer illusion more smoothly. Yeah, that's fine. Chi Swexuan thought for a moment and found that there was nothing wrong with Sotingyu's words, so he nodded in agreement. Anyway, the method of developing mental power is not a key secret, because mental power is not something that everyone can possess casually. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 645. After Chi Swexuan taught the two people all the ways to develop spiritual power, he said he wanted to check out the nearby area. Sotingyu knew that she was probably looking for her companion. After all, he knew everything and was much more trustworthy than the two of them. Okay then, little sister, go ahead. Sotingyu waved her little paws and watched Chi Swexuan leave. After everyone left, Sotingyu turned to Qin Chi and said, Kikai, let's try to develop our mental power first. Big fish, mental power, is very similar to the literal meaning of the personal attribute spirit on the panel. Qin Chi suddenly spoke. Huh? Personal attributes? Sotingyu blinked his big eyes in confusion. What are personal attributes? Does she have it? Sotingyu tried to think back and finally remembered. Oh, are there a lot of question marks? With a thought in his mind, Sotingyu suddenly became curious about other people's attribute data and asked, Kikai, what is your personal attribute data like? My spirit is 80, and there are others. Wait a minute, Sotingyu interrupted Qin Chi's words, with surprised eyes, what are your numbers? This directly confused Qin Chi. If it wasn't a number, what else could it be? Kikai, your mental attribute is 80. Is this considered very high? Sotingyu was curious about the criteria for judging personal attributes. The average person's attribute data is below 50, and some will exceed it. Currently, no one single attribute data exceeds 100, except for those with extra points. Sotingyu bit her lower lip lightly and rolled her eyes slightly. So mental power and mental attributes are the same thing, right? Qin Chi shook his head. It's not clear yet, but let's develop it according to the method first. If there is contact, the mental attributes may change. Oh. Sotingyu glanced around with guilty eyes. Why does she feel that even if she is lucky enough to have spiritual power, the string of will not change? Let's develop our spiritual power first, Qin Chi said. Developing mental power requires a relatively quiet environment, so Sotingyu and the two separated. Recalling the development steps, Chi Swexuan said. The first step is meditation. What do you think? Sotingyu scratched her head, thinking about it, and slowly closed her eyes. Step 2, inspire strong obsession. What obsession could she have? Sotingyu couldn't think of it for a moment. Yes. Shoot that nightmare to death. It turned Qin Chi into a child. Unforgivable. Although, Kikai is quite cute now, cough cough. And, what kind of nightmare can actually see her past? This makes Sotingyu feel that her privacy has been exposed. Are you angry? Absolutely angry. Sotingyu still had her eyes closed, but the expression on her face became a little exciting. Gradually, before Sotingyu realized the problem, faint ripples appeared in the space around her, like a stone being thrown into a calm lake. Tick. Tick. At this time, Sotingyu's panel popped up. Please note. The mental attributes of the player Angel Su are abnormal. Please ask player Angel Su to stop all activities immediately. Even through the shielding, you can see between the lines that the panel system has jumped. Unfortunately, Sotingyu can't see it now. The panel system has no voice broadcast, and it can't disturb Sotingyu. And at this time, Sotingyu felt like she was put into a glass bottle, with glass restricting her movements in all directions. What the hell, Sotingyu felt an inexplicable desire for destruction in her heart. She wanted to break these glasses. Thinking like this, Sotingyu did it. So, it broke.